Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhyuddin. I'm the moderator for this session. For paper presentation, everyone is given 10 minutes for their presentation, and then we will have Q&A at the end of the session. The theme for this session is education. We are waiting for the presenter. Dr. Ahmad Shibab.
تامر النجار والدكتور أحمد شاه from Islamic University of Gaza at Palestine. And today we want to talk about our presentation in this conference, which titled with The Reality and Challenges of E-Learning for the International Material Law course from the viewpoint of students and lecturers at Palestinian universities. This paper based on previous studies, questionnaires, and interviews. During this study, we defined e-learning and most important characteristics are presented. This study discussed many important axes related to a reality of e-learning in Palestine and present and analyzing the results of questionnaires and interviews, and we have a full summary at the end of this study. This is a definition of international material law. It's a set of rules which seek for humanitarian reasons to limit the effect of armed conflict. It protects persons who are not or no longer participating in the hostilities and restricts the means and methods of warfare. Perhaps one of the most important means of disseminating the provision of international material law is the teaching international material law. International material law is an important study course for undergraduate and postgraduate students in College of Law. In Palestinian colleges, we have included this course in our study plan and have been training our students on the provisions and topics of international humanitarian law through courses and workshops with International Committee of Red Cross and civil society organizations. However, in light of outbreak of corona pandemic and lockdown, law schools have restored to teaching various courses, including international material law course via internet. Okay, and so we have a study, and this study discussed the effectiveness of e-learning for international material law course from the students and lecturers' viewpoint at Palestinian universities. This study was directed in light of conditions and under circumstances of COVID-19 in West Bank and Gaza Strip, and depend on previous studies and questionnaires and interviews, which necessary to achieve the objective or main objective of this study. The importance of this study increases due the relevance to international material law and the effectiveness of e-learning in publishing and teaching international material law. This study depends on data which collected by ICRC in Palestine office, and the size of the study population reached 5,959 male and female students in College of Law in 11 universities and college in West Bank and Gaza Strip. To achieve the objective of the study, the researchers used the descriptive and analytical method by describing the subject of this study and analyzing data and relationship between components and the process, including the effective or the effects that produced, as well as the qualitative approach to identify the large number of viewpoints related to the study problem. About questionnaires. After reviewing the relevant theoretical framework and this framework in all, questionnaires was prepared for each member to obtain suitable and useful information for our study. The questionnaire was concerned with many aspects, which are as follows: satisfaction and level of benefit, quality, obstacle and difficulties, suitability of e-learning to teach and publish the rules of international material law, what are the basic requirements necessary for a continuation of the activities of ICRC in light of COVID-19 pandemic? About interviews, the questions were focused in several directions, which are as follows. Is the international material law taught in the college, and what is the method used in college? What is the acceptance and planning of faculty member in the college to interact with e-learning, and what about online events of international material law? What is the importance of publishing awareness of international material law from the point of view or from a point of view of students or a faculty member? What are the most important difficulties focused by faculty member when adapting e-learning in universities? And do you think that e-learning is an important or appreciate means to publish rules of international material law? Okay, and what are the requirements to continue these activities of publishing online in light of corona pandemic? And what are the most popular online application in e-learning, and how it's effective to publish or to teach the rules of international material law? Conclusion. In West Bank, the assessment of requirement to continuation of activities of ICRC in online publishing the rules of international material law in light of COVID-19 pandemic was 74%. And about the field of obstacle and difficulties, it came in the last place with relative weight 65.4%. In Gaza Strip, in the first degree, we have difficulties and obstacle with weight 72%, and the Education Center of Teaching for teaching and publishing the rules of international material law rank the last with 65%. The students of West Bank and Gaza Strip also agreed that the most effective obstacle from their point of view were slow internet speed that prevent completion of homeworks and online exams in the first place. And in the second place, power cuts, especially in Gaza Strip, and lack of variety in pattern and strategies teaching for students of West Bank. The faculty members from West Bank and Gaza Strip considered that e-learning had helped to create a new teaching methods or techniques, but it didn't contribute to highlighting students' abilities and enhancing their motivation toward learning to large extent. And the faculty member from Westbank and Gastrip considered that the most effective obstacle were the increase of academic load in the first place, followed by the weak of level of knowledge of students in the use online program or online platform. In Gaza Strip and difficulty in flowing up the large number of students, it was a main obstacle in West Bank for faculty members. The deans of colleges agree that international material law is taught as a basic course within the study strategies with the different type of requirements. College of Deans agreed that the sudden factor when the state of emergency was announced had a significant impact and confusing academic working in general and and of using e-learning mechanism for students and college deans and faculty member. The response of the dean varied regarding the suitableness of e-learning as an appropriate way to dissemination or publishing rules of international material law, and the response of no was 72.2%, and percentage of support it was 27.8%. The deans of college agree that there is no objection to employing universities' electronic platform to teach the rule of e-learning in international material law. Students of Islamic University of Gaza have previous experience in using the platform through midterm electronic exams. Finally, we thank you with all languages all over the world. Thank you.
To invite our second presenter, I would like to invite Dr. Diauddin for a topic titled International Postgraduate Students' Perspective on Online Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic Lockdown in University Technology Malaysia. The floor is yours, Dr. Diauddin. Dr. Diauddin, are you there?
Assalamualaikum.
Muhyuddin.
Can you hear my voice? Assalamualaikum. Can you hear my voice? To Khairi, can you hear my voice? Clear? So I can start? Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala mursalin Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillah wa kafa wa salatu wassalamu ala nabiyil Mustafa. Allahumma yassir li amri wa shrah li sadri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. So this is my presentation for education session. At this session, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my research in online teaching actually, and my paper will be with the topic International Postgraduate Students Perspective on Online Learning during COVID-19 pandemic in University Technology Malaysia, and this paper are done by me, Diauddin Azitawi, my colleagues Dr. Kauthar Bayumi and Nur Azmal Lail Marini. So my content will be as follows. Introduction. The introduction will present background, problem statement, and objectives. Going to the section 2, methodology. What is the method and instrument? Section 3, results and discussion, findings, analysis. And section 4 is conclusion, contribution, and future work. COVID-19 and MCO in Malaysia. The battle adversary known as COVID-19 and has affected hundreds of thousands of people around the world by March 2020. COVID-19 has seriously slammed Malaysian higher education sector as well. For the academic session to continue with the new norm of social distancing and MCO, the online learning has been implemented to ensure smooth process of teaching and learning. What is the background and problem statement? If I can conclude also maybe beside the slides, the major problem is the COVID-19 itself, which is caused other major problems also, as it is a huge challenge for the universities indeed, as there will be huge change on how the usual operational work and students registration, teaching, learner research, seminars, conferences, meetings, and it's never happened to have full online learning education process in online. The other issues or problem was both lecturers and students in HEIS faced multiple challenges in teaching and learning. The effect was most severe in East Malaysia due to poor internet connectivity for online learning. Nevertheless, COVID-19 also provides an opportunity to higher education institutions to reconstruct the education system and establish update programs and assessments. Due to campus closure, academic institutions tend to their online system to continue the education process. The success of online learning to mitigate the impacts is still unknown. With the replacement of online process, however, the quality of instruction is compromised. The possible spontaneity in the lecture hall is likely to be lost. It is significant to know students' perspective as their input may unveil severe emotional and readiness issues in facing the new situation. Previous studies indicated the following gaps. There is a lack of studies discussing the COVID-19 lockdown impact within Malaysian's context. Secondly, students' feedback regarding this transformation was moderately discussed in previous studies. Non-technical aspects related to the COVID-19 lockdown received moderate focus. Previous studies covered educators' perspectives with minimum input from students. University of Technology Malaysia, UTM, was among the first universities in Malaysia to start online learning in response to the Movement Control Order, MCO. Regular evaluations based on data collected from students are very curricular to improve the process and provide quality online learning. As such, the purpose of this paper is to investigate the learning experience of international postgraduate students in an online course. What is the objective of this paper? Explore, investigate, and access. So explore one, to investigate the learning experience of international postgraduate students in online learning, to explore the efficiency of online learning methods and tools in postgraduate courses delivery, and to access to effectiveness of online teaching methods and tools in postgraduate courses. What the researcher used, what the method the researcher used. The method is educational action research. The study adopted a quantitative small-scale educational research method to address and achieve its objectives and collect data. The methodology included the following procedures. First method is educational action research, instrument, questionnaire, and the publication and sample postgraduate students in UTM, postgraduate students in 2 sessions. Analysis method is descriptive analysis. Oh, sorry, what happened? First, the study sample demographics. The total number of students in the 2 sections was 31, of which 16 semester students and 15 PhD students. The total number of female students is 6 out of 31. So female represent 20% of the class members. The male was 80%. The total number of male students is 25 out of 31. Students' age groups. This shape shows us that the ages of the students was between 39% of them was between 31 to 39 years old, and 6% of them was 50 years and above. 55% of them was between 41 to 49 years old. How about their online experience? What they said about it? 58% said no previous regular online study training. 22% of them joined 1 to 2 previous online courses. 20% of them had previous regular online study training. Students' previous online learning experience. The online, still talking about the online learning experience. So the online learning was 22. This is the method of teaching actually. The use of educational technology and tools, the lectures, delivery style, teaching method, the course content, and interest in the course. This is online learning experience. 11 students think that their learning outcome would not be better if study was face-to-face. 39% of them and 25% of them focus tindakan edit legal fitted handed what is this? The students think that their learning outcome would not be better if study was face to face. Sorry. Three, the student's perspective on online learning and teaching methods. Teaching methods was, as we see, lecture was 26% of the session, 29% was discussion, 17% was case study, and 20% was problem solving. Assessment of online learning and teaching methods and tools. Okay, now we can see the numbers. As method, very useful, show us that useful and preferred, very useful and preferred. It shows us that big number of them support the process in online learning. Sorry. The assessment of online learning and teaching methods and tools. Among the software and educational technology tools used throughout the study course was Mentimeter, Padlet, Quizlet, and with whiteboard were the most useful and most preferred respectively. So the conclusion. These are our findings. This was our data that we find from this paper. Key point one, although the majority of students did not have previous regular online learning, however, 70% of students, which shows 22 students of them think that online learning is one of the factors that contributed positively to their learning outcome, along with the lectures, teaching style, teaching methods, course content, and the use of technology in a class respectively. Key point two, among the factors that contributed negatively to the students' learning outcome was the time difference, coursework load, and job engagement, as all of them are working to earn their livings, as mentioned. By contrast, the internet connection was not an issue according to the students. Key point three, even though students are still coping with the new norms working from the home, yet they have some concerns about face-to-face interaction with supervisors and instructions in carrying out research. Key point four, discussion is considered the best method in the online class and was very useful. Next was lecture and problem solving, which were very preferred and very useful to students. Regarding tools, Minimeter, Padlet, and Quizlet were the best and most useful apps. What is the potential this paper and contribution in the future work? Future research may focus on investigating differences in experiences and perceptions between international and local students, international postgraduate students, and international undergraduate students. How this paper contribute in future work, contribute to research in online learning, provide insights on students' perceptions on online learning during the pandemic. Third is provide update on new teaching best practices. Fourth is to provide directions for improving online teaching practices. Fifth, offer knowledge on selections of suitable educational technology tools for online teaching. Indicate directions for future research. Thank you very much. This was my sharing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Diaudin. Thus, for the third presenter, I would like to invite Dr. Abbas Al-Kafir and the title is High School Students Online Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic, Iranian Parents' Belief and Attitude. Without further, I would like to give the floor to the third presenter. Dr. Abbas, are you there? Assalamualaikum, Dr. Abbas.
You hear my
No?
voice?
Yes, I can hear your voice.
But I can't share my file, my PowerPoint.
You couldn't click the share?
I have no choice to share. There is no option to share PowerPoint. I would share the slides in WhatsApp. You have my voice?
Yes, I can hear your voice. Dr. Abbas?
Doctor? Do you have my voice?
Yes, I can hear your voice. Dr. Abbas? Can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Dr. Abbas?
I think now you can see the slides.
Database.
Yes.
Database, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, at the below, you can see a button for share and then share screen. Click on
Yes, I'm
the share
sharing
button.
my screen. Sure. Now you have my screen.
Disconnect.
Okay, should I go on?
Yes, Dr. Abbas, you can start.
Okay. Sorry for delay, and I couldn't turn on my camera. Our research is about Iranian parents' beliefs and attitudes toward high school students' online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. You can see the part one introduction. Young children using digital technologies to learn online in the early years has been heatedly debated among scholars, educators, and policymakers in the past decades. Some scholars have insisted that young children should not expose to online learning because the latter cannot prepare young children socially and emotionally ready for school and will bring some harm to their health and growth. Some scholars have confirmed that digital learning could help young children to understand abstract concepts and engage them in collaborative learning, reasoning, and problem-solving activities. Recently, Arnott and Yellen suggested shifting this argument away from a moral panic and reconceptualizing digital technologies like social, cultural, and personal artifacts that inhabit the contemporary child's life world and can contribute to their learning ecologies. Therefore, online learning by digital technologies is part of young children's multimodal life world, thus should be contextualized and capitalized to support teachers, parents, and children about how best to utilize digital and online technologies to develop agentic multimodal practices. Statement of problem. The outbreak of COVID-19 in Wuhan started spreading in China in December 2019 and then was declared as the public health emergency of international concern by the World Health Organization on 30 January 2020. The national authorities worldwide have responded to this crisis by implementing travel bans, lockdowns, workplace hazard controls, and facility closures. Preschools, schools, and universities have been closed either on a nationwide or local basis in 172 countries, affecting approximately 98.5% of the world's student population, and Iran is no exception. As an urgent response to the COVID-19 pandemic in early February 2020, the Ministry of Education of Iran mandated that all schools and universities stop face-to-face teaching and use internet platforms to deliver online learning. School children were required to attend online classes to continue their education, although preschools were not required to deliver online learning and had no mandatory online educational programs. ECE stakeholders, including educators from public sectors and private curriculum developers, were proactively engaged in designing digital curriculums, resources, and introducing educational apps and platforms to guide parents to support their children's learning and play at home. Under such circumstances, many Iranian parents followed the suggestions from teachers and educational authorities to provide online learning to their children during the lockdown. Such influences on parents in adopting online learning are not difficult to understand in the Iranian sociocultural context. Part 3, purpose of the study. The study is perspectives and practices on children's attitudes about online learning are unstudied. In particular, during COVID-19 pandemic, the sudden shift to online learning has presented new opportunities for parents. Under such unique circumstances, there is a need to examine parental beliefs and attitudes concerning online learning and readiness and acceptance to make this drastic shift. Furthermore, most of the existing studies are Western-centric and may not represent views from the Eastern countries where the culture and educational philosophies might differ. Indeed, parental beliefs about digital technologies and media are not formed in a vacuum. Instead, they are shaped by cultural norms. Our research questions are: what did children experience through online learning during COVID-19 pandemic? What were Iranian parents' beliefs about online learning during COVID-19 pandemic? And number 3, what were Iranian parents' attitudes toward online learning for their young children? Next part is methodology or a method, the sample. This research was conducted in Shush city in the southwestern part of Iran, Khuzestan province. The online survey was voluntarily answered by 280 parents whose children have participated in local early childhood education programs. Most of them were aged between 20 and 30 years, and between 30 and 39 years, and between 40 and 49 years. Few were 50 years or above, and none were under 20 years. Their educational levels were very diversified: junior school, secondary school, high school, bachelor, and postgraduate degree. And their occupation also varied greatly: government or public organizations, state-owned enterprise, private enterprise, personal owned business, and unemployed unemployed. Most of the parents have one or two children. Few of them have three or four plus. Half parents reported their children were 5 to 10 years, and some were 10 to 15 years old. The background information of the sample is presented in the table. The questionnaire. The questionnaire consists of 3 parts and includes 41 closed questions and 2 open-ended questions. The closed questions and rating scales generate an overview of parental beliefs and attitudes about online learning. In contrast, open questions allow parents to express their personal feelings, experiences, knowledge related to online learning. Part 1, demographic information. Part 2, online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. And Part 3, parents' beliefs and attitudes around online learning. The 27 questions could be classified into 3 subscales. Subscale 1 is about the pros and cons of online learning. Subscale 2 is focused on the value of online learning for young children. And subscale 3 measures the impact of online learning on family education. The internal consistency of Part 3 was measured, and the reliability for its 3 subscales was 0.80, 0.89, 0.78 respectively, indicating satisfactory reliability. Procedure. The participants were invited to complete this online survey conducted on Google Docs. The participants were clearly informed throughout the study that participation in this research was completely voluntary, and they could withdraw their participation at any time without any reason. Data analysis. Both quantitative and qualitative approaches were adopted in analyzing the data in this study. First, the quantitative data were analyzed using IBM's PSS software. First, data cleaning was conducted, and the very few missing values were replaced with the mean of the concerned variable. Second, descriptive statistical analysis was performed to calculate the frequency, mean, and standard deviation of parents' characteristics and children's online learning activities during the outbreak of COVID-19. Finally, for analysis, the responses were given a score for each item from 1 to 5. Items that were phrased negatively were subsequently recoded to make the scales red in the positive direction. Lower scores, therefore, reflecting negative or less positive beliefs. The mean scores were calculated for each scale, which provides an overall picture of the parental responses. To go to the next part, findings. Young children's online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. As you can see in here, overall, most parents reported that their children had online learning experiences during the pandemic. Specifically, these parents indicated that their children learned online once or multiple times per day, whereas some had only once or twice or 3 times per week. In addition, about 1/3 of the children had less than 15 minutes of online activities per time, and some had an average between 15 and 20 minutes. The majority of the parents used free online learning resources with no or meager cost, and the children's online learning was mainly delivered and guided by preschool teachers or other staff. Some were guided by online apps, webs, and others, as shown in the table. The next table presents the analysis results about the children's online learning activities during COVID-19. First, many young children watched the recorded lessons online once or multiple times per day. Some children watched only once or twice or three times per week. Only a small percentage of them never did so. The children's online learning content was varied, including literacy, brain exercises, and science, as well as arts. A small number of parents commented in the open questions that their children were learning physical exercise and language online. Second, many young children attended the live class online once or multiple times per day. Some children attended only once or twice or three times per week. About half of them never did so. Third, many young children use SHOD once or multiple times per day. Some children used it only once or twice or three times per week, and many of them never did so. Fourth, many young children use the learning apps once or multiple times per day. Some children did it only once or twice or three times per week, but half of them never did so. Fifth, majority of the children attended online with parent presence once or multiple times per day. Some children did it only once or twice or three times per week. Very few of them never did so. And sixth, many children interacted with the instructor online once or multiple times per day. Some children did this only once or twice or three times per week. Many of them never did so. Last, many parents interacted with the instructor online once or multiple times per day. Half of them interacted only once or twice or three times per week, whereas many of them never did so. Parents' beliefs and attitudes around online learning. Online learning lacks learning atmosphere. Sorry. The quantitative data show that the parents had relatively less positive beliefs about the value of online learning. Only small percentage of participants believe that online learning has better learning content, better learning outcomes, and is more efficient than the traditional approach. About half parents neither agreed nor disagreed on the statements about the pros and cons of online learning, indicating a neutral position on the value of online education. There were very few parents among those who provided the comments indicating that under the special pandemic situation, online education can be used to support children's learning. Furthermore, the qualitative data indicated that the parents believed that traditional learning in educational settings was better than online learning in creating a learning atmosphere with better learning outcomes. Some parents even commented that online learning at home does not have a learning atmosphere. The efficiency of online learning is not high, and online learning atmosphere is not good. These parents also explain their negative beliefs on online learning, lacking social interactions with peers. Children did not treat online learning as a formal class, therefore, were unable to focus on the learning. In addition, parents found it difficult to manage children's online learning at home as they did not have teachers' authority. Online learning causes harm to young children. The qualitative analysis indicated that the parents were less positive about the benefits of online learning. A small percentage of parents believe that online learning could enhance young children's language development, literacy, social skills, independent skills, arts, and physical health. In general, more parents perceive that online learning could help children gain more science knowledge. Approximately half of the participants had a neutral attitude towards the role of online learning for supporting children's development in language, literacy, independence, social skills, and arts. Among all the concerns, the most critical one is about the negative effect on young children's eye vision. Some parents emphasize that the potential harm to young children's social development and physical health, especially eye vision. There was a dilemma for parents to adopt online learning for their children. As revealed by a parent, children can learn some knowledge via online approaches, but they would develop an interest in watching smartphones and TV, which is not good for their eyes. In general, many parents stated harm and challenges caused by online learning without mentioning any benefits, as shown in the quotes. Online learning demands time and professional knowledge from parents. The quantitative data from Subscale 3 measured parents' beliefs and attitudes about the impact of online learning on parenting and family education. Approximately half parents believe that online learning kept their children from doing nothing at home during the COVID-19. Second, and improve parent-children relationship and inspire their educational ideas and allow them to forms of activities. Overall, the parents had slightly more positive percentages of the impact of online learning on their family education. In contrast, the qualitative data found that some parents perceive children's online learning as inconvenient, challenging, and time-consuming. About 1.6% of parents expressed that online learning wastes too much adults' working time, adds burden to parents, and, and affects parents' work significantly. This is because children do not have adequate self-control abilities, and children's online learning needs parents to stop their job to accompany them at home and cost time and effort. In addition, these parents mention various barriers for them to implement home online learning, including time constraints and professional knowledge in teaching children. Notably, the parents who had more than one child identified more barriers to their younger children's online learning. Additionally, they expressed concerns about unnecessary requirements such as signing attendance online, which presented another barrier for young children to accomplish independently and added extra work to parents. They felt like they were forced to follow online program requirements and instructions that did not align with the intended aim and flexibility of online learning. In total, about 8.7% of parents commented that they would not recommend online learning in the early years, and they hoped online learning to be ceased as soon as possible after the pandemic. Among these parents, some questioned the appropriateness of online learning and similarly stated children are too young with weak self-regulation and online learning is not appropriate. And such findings is also supported by the quantitative findings that only a few parents were willing to pay for online learning after the pandemic, and more than half of parents indicated that they would not allow their children to learn online once the COVID-19 lockdown is over. Part 6 is discussion. Iranian parents' negative beliefs and attitudes around online learning. Firstly, this study found that the parents held the belief that online learning is less effective than traditional learning in early childhood educational environments. They believe that online education lacked the learning atmosphere and social interactions to engage young children, resulting in poor learning outcomes. These generally negative beliefs about online learning could be related to the two major causes. The first one is that the lockdown of COVID-19 has caused a sudden shift to online learning. The second cause might be the major shortcomings of online learning, as noted by the critics: social isolation and lack of interactivity, which have repeatedly been reported by the parents during this unexpected experiment. Secondly, this study found that most Iranian parents had a major concern about vision problems caused by online and digital learning. Such concerns has been shared by many parents and early childhood educators internationally. Thirdly, this study found that the parents were also worried about the lacking of physical activity as well as the addiction to screens such as TV and smartphones caused by digital and online learning. This concern is also reasonable and understandable given that all the young children were quarantined at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, and digital and online learning became their only channel to interact with teachers and peers. This finding is consistent with the the existing ones that have suggested that parents and educators were concerned about the negative effect of screen time and on young children's health development. Why Iranian parents viewed negatively? First, this study found that Iranian parents tended to reject online learning because their children had no or low self-regulation. This finding provides empirical evidence to support the claim that self-regulation is a prerequisite for successful online engagement and learning. This is more than the definition of self-regulation. Self-generated thoughts, feelings, and behaviors oriented to attaining goals. Second, this study found that Iranian parents tended to reject online learning because their children were uninterested in it. Third, this study found that many parents, especially those with more than one child, tended to reject online learning because they had no time to support children's online learning at home. This finding is consistent with that study who found the Iranian parents of only child tended to have more opportunities and educational resources than those of non-only children. The Iranian parents in this study, however, did not realize the importance of their involvement and tended to reject to support their children's online learning. Last but not least, this study found that the parents were negative about online learning because the COVID-19 lockdown had made them suffering from the hardships and the unexpected demand from online learning. They felt unable to educate young children as their conventional role was not the teacher of a child, and they were not trained to do so. So, uh, Iranian parents and grandparents were often blamed by teachers for spoiling their children. Therefore, they tended to feel uncomfortable, unconfident to teach their children at home and believe that their children listen more to their teachers and have a better learning atmosphere at school. Part 7: Conclusions, Limitations, and implications. Digital and online learning is gaining popularity due to its advantages such as greater flexibility, wider access, and low cost. However, this study found that the implementation of online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic has been problematic and challenging for Iranian families. Iranian parents generally had negative beliefs and attitudes about the values and benefits of online learning and preferred traditional learning in early childhood educational environments. This is because they were neither trained nor ready to embrace online learning. The hardship caused by the COVID-19 pandemic has made them suffer, thus more resistant to online learning at home. And these Iranian parents were more concerned about the shortcomings of online learning, their children's inadequate self-regulation, and their lack of time and professional knowledge in supporting online learning. Limitations. This study, however, has certain limitations. First, a large scale quantitative study can provide representative and diversified evidence about the target topic. Second, this online study simply collected self-report data which might have a socially desirable bias. Further studies with tri- triangulation of methods are needed to cross-check the results. Implications, nevertheless, for the first time, this study has investigated Iranian parents' beliefs and attitudes concerning digital and online learning during the outbreak of COVID-19. The national lockdown has unavoidably affected many children's physical attendance of educational settings and made online learning the continuity of learning and play at home. Um, the promotion and implementation of online learning to replace traditional early childhood education during emergent situations like COVID-19 need to be carefully considered and well planned to support families rather than adding extra burdens to them. This means that promoters should consider the complexity and diversity of families when suggesting an online class of young children and providing parents with flexibility and convenience. In addition, the provider of online learning should improve the design of online programs, for example, the program. Thank you. Thanks for your attention. Any questions?
Thank you to Dr. Abbas. Just I want to look at it any question. Okay. Now I would like to
You're
open for Q&A
welcome.
session. Okay. Any question from comments? Maybe from Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. There's no comment of question from Facebook. Just so I would like to thank all of you, particularly to Dr. Abbas, okay, our presenters and
You're
participants for joining this session.
you're
See you
welcome.
in the next session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Testing. Assalamualaikum. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Welcome to first ICCTME 2021. My name is Dr. Aminuddin bin Hassan. I'm moderator for the 5 parallel session. I think this is the last session. So I would like to explain the formatting for this session actually. So now everyone is given 10 minutes for their presentation. Then we will have a Q&A at the end for this session. And I think it's around 5-10 minutes cover the all papers. For information, the theme for this session is religion. Religion. So this session we have 3 papers presented from Dr. Wan Azura, from Dr. Walan Sukandar and Dr. Hossaini. And the title is from Dr. Wan Azura is protecting against fake news and COVID-19 misinformation, a guideline from the Quranic based communication, rhetoric, and psychology. And the next papers from Dr. Walan Sukandar, the function of religion in managing anxiety. Oh, this is quite interesting. Anxiety in the family during the COVID-19 epidemic. And the last paper is from Dr. Hossaini. The title is Contracting the Narrative of Ulama, Political Extremism through the application of the values of religions, moderation in learning Islam for student. So we have first presenter is ready. So let me introduce the first presenter, Dr. Wan Azura, and the title is Protecting Against Fake News and COVID-19 Misinformation, a guideline from the Quranic-based communication, rhetoric, and psychology. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to first presentation. For the first presenter, the floor is yours. So please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My
Waalaikumsalam
topic today
warahmatullah.
is protecting against fake news and COVID-19 misinformation, a guideline from the Quranic-based communication, rhetoric, and psychology. I'm Wan Azura Wan Ahmad and my colleague Ahmad Fazullah Muhammad Zainal Abidin from University Sciences Islam Malaysia and University Malaysia Pahang. Introduction. COVID-19. In December 2019, a novel virus called COVID-19 was reported in China, and in recent months, the virus has spread to other parts of the world. The world is currently facing a COVID-19 pandemic, but simultaneously spreading the pandemic of fake news. Pandemic-related fake news slightly different from fake news in the issues of political realm. According to recent research, many rumors and false news stories are circulating about the COVID-19. The increase of fake news is becoming a worldwide issue. It has been shown that social media is an influential device for the spreading of large amounts of unfiltered. The Health Ministry has warned the public against spreading fake or unverified news on COVID-19 as they face being dealt with in accordance with the law. It is because pandemic-related fake news dissemination leads to the symptoms of anxiety, depression, fear of contagion, biases, and panic among community members. Consequently, misinformation in social media among members of the public regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, prompting governments and authorities to urge citizens to confirm the genuineness of news stories before calculating them. In order to counter COVID-19 misinformation, various approaches are advocated, including psychology and communication practice in managing these pandemic-related psychological problems. Hence, this paper attempts to provide a new conceptual approach inspired by the Quran-based psychology and communication politeness approach in dealing with pandemic-related fake news. This idea arises from the principles of communication politeness in the Quran as filtering tools that play an important role in managing misinformation. The authors recommend the use of Quranic-based psychology and communication approach for addressing true stories and validity of COVID-19 outbreak. Beware of the corona cyber infection. Far more infectious that the virus is the fear associated with the illness due to the spread of stories through the internet and social media. Here are some ways to curb cyber infection and prevent mass panic. Like check the facts with reliable sources such as the World Health Organization (WHO), the Ministry of Health Malaysia (MOH), and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC). Check if other reputable news agencies report the same stories. Use snopes.com. Use useful internet fact-checking resource to identify fake news. All this from sunwaymedical.com. In Malaysia, people can search the news whether true or not through www.sebenarnya.my. Here, the website of sebenarnya.my. Okay, now we go to a Quranic-based psychology approach. First, strengthen our totality of human self, our nafs, which spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, or SEMT. Human self or nafs has the capacity to react towards pandemic. Refer Atin, Surah Atin, ayat 95, chapter 4. We have certainly created man in the best stature. Second, contemplation or tafakkur or cognitive psychology means think deeply and connect with God. Thinking and contemplate over God's creation, such as heaven and earth, not create the creation aimlessly. Refer Al-Imran, chapter 3, ayat 191, Al-Jathiyah, and also Al-Ankabut. Third, implement and practice positive values, positive psychology. Gratitude means syukur, forgiveness, maghfirah, repentance, taubah, patience, sabar, living in new normal, following SOP, avoid fake news, and etc. Communication blindness in the Quran and approach. The last few decades witnessed a rapid growth in research into politeness, said Al-Khatib, 2012. Politeness is fundamental for human communication insofar as it regulates social interaction and allows a smooth, easy communication as well as avoiding interpersonal problems and establishing close relationships. Definition of politeness: the practical application of good manners or ethics and respect for the feelings of others in various settings. In terms of COVID-19, the communication and its characteristics play important roles in dealing with emotional distress. Now we see here communication blindness in Quran and approach. First, Qawlan Sadida, speak words of appropriate justice, valid and precise. Al-Ahzab, Qawlan Ma'rufa, speak with appropriate speech. Al-Ahzab, also Al-Ahzab. Qawlan Baligha, speak with clear, effective and a far-reaching word. Al-Nisa, Qawlan Maysura, speak with gentle word. Al-Isra, Ughdud min sawt, use lower voice to the speech. Luqman, يستمعون القول فاتبعون أحسنه. Use the best words during listening and speaking. Al-Zumar, Tayyib bin Qawl, preference to use good speech and words. Conclusion. Now we go to the conclusion. The COVID-19 has alarming implications for psychological and physical health issues individually and collectively in terms of SEMP aspects of human. Second, the aspect of emotions and communication blindness in the Quran have emotional and emotive rhetoric impacts towards human potentials. Third, psychological aspects such as emotions and communication blindness in the Quran propose several inputs and coping strategies in dealing with the pandemic-related emotional distress due to the fake news. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. and this is research acknowledgement to the FRGS fund by Ministry of Higher Education. Therefore, we thanks to USIM and also to MOHE. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Dr. Wan Azura for the presenter, for the presentation. And the title is Protecting Against Fake News and the COVID-19 Misinformation. So, thank you so much. So, I think it's a very quite interesting topic to discuss about the guideline from the Quranic-based communication, rhetoric, and psychology. So, actually, for information, all the next presenters, they are currently absent. So, I think we just waiting in virtual room, inshallah. If any presenter is ready, inshallah we return to live session. So, waiting, inshallah. Assalamualaikum.